I want to explain the Ansley-Rachlin graph of self-control. There's just a couple of things that maybe if you hear me say it, it'll make a little sense when you're reading this graph. Okay, so let's see. All right, so there's a graph, we have a y, we have an x, and the x-axis is time. Okay, and time is going that, as we go this way, we have more time has passed. The y-axis is the value of a particular reinforcer. Okay, so I'm going to put S with a little r means reinforcer. Reinforcer value. Now, self-control basically involves when we have two choices. We can get a small reward soon, or we can get a larger reward later. So in the marshmallow test, you can get one marshmallow right now, or if you wait like 2 minutes, 4 minutes, you can get 2 marshmallows. And self-control is when you're able to choose the larger later reward. So in any graph of self-control, Ansley-Rachlin, we're going to have 2 possible rewards. One will be sooner, and one will be worth more, but you get it later. So we denote that by having, here's our sooner, smaller reward. And here's our larger, later reward. Okay, so those are my 2 choices. Now, if I'm going to actually have a choice between one or the other, I can only be on this graph somewhere like right here. If I was right here on this graph, my choice is I will give it to you right now. It's like you can have this marshmallow right now. No wait time involved. Here it is. Do you want it? Or do you want to wait a certain amount of time and I'll give you 2 marshmallows? Okay. Now look, the value of a reward at any given point is the height. This is worth this now. Now we don't actually have units on here, but it's just relatively. We can see, oh, this is worth more if I can have it at this time point. If you could give me 2 marshmallows right now, it would be worth that much. So on the graph, when we're making a choice, we can either be right here where you can have the sooner one immediately, or we can be somewhere back here. Now, as I travel back, what the situation becomes is let's say we're here. That means if you wait some amount of time, you can get the small reward. But if you wait longer, you can get the large reward. Okay? So you're always going to be making a choice somewhere between this area. If you're here on the graph, well, this option has already passed. It's not even an option anymore. So you're never over here. You're just here, right there, or back. Okay. Now, the key thing about this model is it says, what really determines we'll always choose the reward that's more valuable to us, but as you introduce a weight, as you introduce time, the value of any reinforcer is going to drop. So this would be its absolute value. What is it worth if you have it right now? But as I add time and I have to wait, the value drops. So that's why we get these curves like this. Now these curves are called value discounting curves. Okay, the value discounting curve shows me, well, if I can get the small reward right here, this is what it's worth to me, right? But as I have to wait for it, as you enter a delay, the value to me actually drops, and it's not really worth as much to me. Same thing with the big one. If I can have it right here, this is what the absolute value would be. But as I have to wait for it, its sort of perceived value becomes less. Now, once we have our graph, and I can construct one of these graphs for any particular person and any particular choices. And it's going to be different between people. Some of you are willing to wait. The value of something is more important than to somebody else, okay? And just to show how you would construct this, I could ask you, let's say if we're actually sitting right next to each other and I go, hey, I'll give you a choice. I can give you a $20 bill right now. Like, you can have this right now. Or if you're willing to wait a week, I'll give you $100. And you just choose. There's no right answer. It's just what is it to you? Let's say you go, I'll wait a week. I'll wait a week for the $100. Okay, what that's telling me is $100 in a week is worth more to you than $20 right now. So I go, okay, that's one little point that I could put on a graph. Now I say, let me change it up. Let's say you can have $20 now, or $100 in 2 months? And you go, okay, I'll still take the $100 in 2 months. Okay? Now say, now your choice is $20 now or $100 in 2 years. At this point, you might go, I'll take the $20 now. Okay. By putting in this really long delay, essentially, I have created a situation where $20 now is worth more to you than $100 in 2 years. Okay, so that's what's happening with as the value drops, is as you have to wait, the perceived value of that thing actually is not worth what it would be if you could have it right now. It drops, the value drops. And we can create that graph for any individual person, okay? Now, once we create it, what we see is you're going to choose whichever value discounting line is on top, is the tallest. So if I'm right here, according to this particular graph, if I'm right here, then I'm going to choose the smaller reward because it's worth more to me right now. But if I have to wait and I'm back here, now I'm going to switch and go, okay, I'll wait for the larger reward. It's now worth more to me at this choice point. Waiting for the larger one, it's worth more to me than the smaller, okay? So this is a fairly typical graph, but like your book says, what if you had somebody, what would it look like, a graph, if somebody had complete self-control? Now that would mean that's a person that no matter what, they always choose the later reward. So to see that on a graph, we would need a value discounting curve for the later reward that is always above the one for the smaller reward. So, you know, it might look like that. What if there was a choice, a later reward for you that never lost its value? Let's say you're doing behaviors in order to get a college degree. And let's say that college degree is really important to you and it never loses any value. What would the value discounting curve look for that? Well, if it never loses value, it would be straight across, right? It'd be like, it's as valuable to me the day I get my diploma as it is 3 years from now when I'm still working from a diploma. It's so important to me. It has no loss of value. That would be just a straight on line, okay? What would it look like if you had somebody with no self-control? They always took the sooner reward. Draw something in your notes. Pause the video, draw something in your notes for somebody who has no self-control. That means the value discount line for the smaller reward should always be higher than the one for the larger reward. Okay, so pause, write it down, and we'll see if you get it right. Okay, so essentially now we need, if I could switch colors, that helps. We need a value discounting curve for this one that always ends up below this one, so just something like that. Okay, so no matter where I am on my choice point, the smaller reward is always more valuable to me. I'm always going to pick it. Okay, so hopefully that helps you understand how the graph works. Now, if we then want to go a little further and go, so knowing this, if this, waiting period is so important in value of reinforcers and what I'm going to choose and how to have self-control, what are some things that I could do to help me have self-control? Well, certainly, if there's any way to impose a delay on the sooner reward, to back yourself away from it, then it's easier to choose the larger reward. One example might be like if I'm driving home and it's kind of, I'm hungry and I skip lunch just because I'm working all the time, and I see McDonald's, I might be like, oh, I'm so hungry, I deserve to go in and get myself some French fries or something, right? But as you come up, if there's anything that creates a delay for that, like there's this long line of cars, I'll be like, never mind, I'll just go home and eat a healthy dinner. Okay, so that basically created this delay. Now, I could do that on my own. I had somebody in our class, in the regular class, will change a behavior of ourselves. And she had this habit of just on the way to class, she would, go into the Union and get like a bag of chips or something. And she's like, I really don't need that. So what could I do? Well, she created a delay for herself. She found a different way to walk to class that took her away from the Union. And if she, caved to her craving, basically she had to take more time to walk back from this other route to the Union to get her chips and then come to class. So she was much less likely to do that because of the time involved. It's like, It's not worth it. It'd take me 5 extra minutes to do. So creating delays for the small reward is a way to get self-control. Now think about if there's any way you could increase the value. If there's something you could do, now we want to decrease the value of the small reward or increase the value of the large reward. Let's say I have a choice where I'm trying to have self-control. Let's say I'm somebody who likes to get, super grande latte mochaccino things at Starbucks, and they're like $5, and I spend this money every day, and I'm thinking like, oh, I shouldn't do that because I want to save up to get a new laptop. And if I just don't buy that crazy fancy coffee every day, I could save money. I need to have self-control. Well, if this is like the $5 fancy coffee I could have today, and this is the new laptop I could have in 3 months, how do I kind of reduce the value of the coffee to myself and increase the value of that laptop? Now I can just play a little mind game on myself, right? It's all perception. The value is your perception. So what can I say to myself to make that coffee less valuable? I could say things like, oh, it's so unhealthy. It has tons of sugar in it. And, that caffeine will just keep you awake probably at night anyway. And it's ridiculous amount of money. And do all these things to sort of minimize the importance of that coffee. And how can I enhance the value of this laptop? It's going to have a faster processor. I'm going to get my work done faster. It's going to have better software. It's going to have this great microphone so my videos sound better. It's going to, I tell myself all the great things about it in a way to try and make this line go up. And as this line gets taller, it's going to pull its value discounting line up with it. So it's going to make it easier for me to wait and choose that. And as I make this less important, less value, it's going to bring its value discounting lines with it. It's going to make it easier to go, no, I don't need that coffee. I'm going to wait, save my money. And if I save $5 a day, I'll get a laptop in no time. Okay. So hopefully that gives you a little bit more working with these curves. I do want you to really understand it. This is a great model, and I think it's really useful. We want to have self-control. A lot of the things that really pay off for us are things that they're goals that we have to wait for them. We have to work a long time to get to that goal. So hopefully this will help. All right, do your reading, do your homework.